Welcome to the Envelopes Emmy Contender Series. I'm Yvonne Villarreal, and today we're talking to Constance Zimmer from UnReal. Thanks so much for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So we're having you here today on a day where there's a lot of UnReal news.
Yes. Look at you and your journalism. Right, you're just right on it. You are not
gonna
going
cut to the chase, girl.
Go, do it.
So there's word that it's going to be the last season of UnReal with season 4. Is that true?
It's a little bit above my pay grade to answer that question, to be perfectly honest. I know just about as much as you do as far as what was. I might know more, but it doesn't matter because I'm not going to say anything. So there you go. There's your journalism. But I do know that I'm very excited for the fans because it means that the fans are going to get to have season 4, I think, earlier than any of us had ever anticipated, which let's just be honest, that's what really matters.
So I'll just phrase it this way. If it were to be the last season, do you think it'll be a fulfilling close to the series?
Yes, I think that everybody would be very, very excited about the 4th season. The 4th season is pretty explosive in so many ways, and you know, we like to always have very controversial things to talk about, and season 4 is not any different. There's a lot going on, and I do think the ending will leave people satisfied if that were to be it. I'm not worried about that. I've just was more like, oh my God, people are going to get to see season 4 like soon, hopefully. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and the other part of the news was that it would go to Hulu first versus Lifetime. Do you have thoughts on that?
I mean, again, I think it all just comes down to accessibility and that the fans are going to get to see season 4. I mean, I think that's what matters right now the most. But otherwise, I'm like, we're the actors. We're like the last ones to know anything. So I was like, oh, great. How do I talk about this when I really don't know much?
Know anything, yeah. Well, we're here to talk about season 3. And it was very much a sort of, we saw Quinn sort of rediscovering who she was and where her focus was in life. Did it feel like that for you, like as the actress, rediscovering who Quinn was, or?
You know, I always think every season I do have new challenges about how to address what Quinn is going through, and how to relay the information in a different way, because a lot of her conflicts are very similar, I think, but it's how she deals with it where she's at in her life. And I know we came into season 3 with her weak and a little tortured by this new revelation of that, like, she can't have kids, and she got her heart broken, and she never thought she would, and she always thought she had her guard up, but she didn't. And so it was really hard, the beginning of season 3, to play her at such a weak starting point. So that was really hard for me to do, because I got so used to playing that character so strong and so big, and so yeah, that was definitely a fun kind of new color to show in her. And then by the end, she still, you know, gets it back. She's able to stand up tall and be proud of, you know, what she's accomplished, I guess.
How were you guys feeling stepping into season 3, considering the criticism that the 2nd season received?
You know, I think we all heard that stuff. We all read it. We listened to it. We also read all the good stuff. And truthfully, we all just still have a job, which is to be entertaining and to be true to these characters and these stories. And I think it definitely made all of us feel like we can't be lazy. We have to do what the audience wants, which is they want to see more of these characters and live with them longer. And that was actually a bigger compliment than a negative, because I think a lot of the talk about the 2nd season was that we were bringing too many big topics up and not finishing them. So the 3rd season, I think we just really hunkered down, and we were able to develop some characters, storylines much broader and much bigger. And you know, I don't think anybody can be hurt by critical reviews, because I think it just makes you take a step back and pay closer attention. And it meant that people really cared about our show, and that's the kind of stuff I take from that and move forward with it.
Well, now 4 seasons in, because you guys have finished season 4, right?
Right.
It's locked and loaded. Have you still not seen more than, I think you had only seen 1 episode of The Bachelor when I last talked to you, but I don't know if that's changed.
Well, I watched 1 season of The Bachelor before I started season 1, but I've never watched it since.
Why?
I don't. It's just not my thing. I really don't get it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I get it, but I don't get it. I have so much other television that I need to watch, like, to further my career and my knowledge and my experience about what I want to do with my life, you know, moving forward from just acting, that I don't know. It doesn't do for me what it does for everybody else. And I think also then, since doing UnReal, it's even harder to comprehend that you can watch those shows and not be like, you guys, come on. That's not real. Let's be honest.
How often are you hearing from people in the business that work on reality TV, like, I got a story for you, or you should pitch this, or here's my horror story of what it's like working on these shows?
You know, a lot of them say, can I come on and be a consultant? Because I could tell you stories that are worse than what you're putting on television. It's always positive, always positive. Everybody in reality television is just, they can't believe how much we're getting away with showing and telling. And, you know, we've told stories of people saying, I got out, you know, thank you so much for telling this story. And you're like, wow, okay, that's a little dark, but there you go. I mean, that just goes to show you, like, we're clearly kind of nailing something about what is going on behind the scenes of these shows. And we've had a bunch of reality stars come on our sets, you know, past bachelorettes and all of this stuff, and they're always like, wow, being on the set is like PTSD. You know, it's so close to what it really feels like being on those shows. But look, they all go back for more. I mean, that's, you know, season 4, we're doing All Stars, and it's all about all of those contestants are all people that have been there before, and yet they're still coming back for more. So how bad is it, really?
Could you have ever made a life being a reality star? Like, if you'd come up through the ranks a little bit later?
No.
No.
I really, no. I'm like, I'm trying to think of any
because
situation.
There are people that make it a career, and it's pretty, like, amazing what they can do with it.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, I like pretending to be someone else. I don't want to be myself on camera.
But it would be so fun. You would never do a reality show of you and your family? No.
No. Definitely not with my family, too. That's my private stuff. I don't want that out there for everybody to critique.
But they need to see your dog.
Oh, my dog. They can critique my dog. That's fine. She won't know any different. But, you know, my daughter and my husband would, and I would.
They would know.
Yeah.
Well, so season 3 gave us our first female Sutras?
Sutras, yes. That is a word, by the way, that we creted. Okay. So it's okay that you don't really understand it. Yeah.
But talk about how invigorating that was to explore that through the lens of a woman.
Well, it definitely did the obvious as far as on the set. It was more men than women, but yet the women were still in control, which doesn't get to happen very often. And being able to kind of tower over men, even though I'm only 5'3", was really great, just with the power that Quinn has on the show. And Caitlin's character, Serena, being there because she wanted to be there and not because she needed to reclaim some kind of public image, but really believing that she could find true love and that she was going to find true love. And this kind of trifecta of women all having their own way of trying to make that come true for her or for themselves. And that was fun to play with. And I don't know, I really love the fact that we have a show where you can kind of make fun of men. I mean, I don't know a lot of other shows where you can do that. And that was really exciting. And the men are super dramatic, by the way. They might not stand.
They're very dramatic,
right? Like they may not spend as much time in hair and makeup, but let's just talk about the conversations and the competitions that they all felt. So that was fun. I loved watching that too.
What did you think in the finale? We see that she decides to go back to Chet. What did you think about that decision?
That was a hard one for me.
Yeah,
it was hard. I definitely had a lot of conversations with them about it. But I think a lot of what season 3 was about was about women finding their own voice as well on their terms, and the realization that she needed to let Rachel go made her look at herself a little bit more, and seeing how difficult it is to find somebody who gets you for your good, bad, and your otherwise, and knowing that Chet really loves her for everything. She really can't do any wrong. And that's a big deal for someone like Quinn, who's got a lot of stuff in there. There's a lot of stuff. Yeah. And, I wanted to make sure that it didn't feel like she was settling, because she's not somebody that would settle. I wanted it to feel like it was an awareness of where she was in her life and where she felt like she needed to go from that point on.
Well, how about the decision she made in regards to Gary and that whole... I mean, this was shot obviously before the Me2 movement became what it is now, but talk about that decision that she made.
I thought it was a real ballsy decision, especially because when we shot it, I remember thinking, this is kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
And are people going to believe us? And are people going to think that this could possibly happen in the real world? Well, lo and behold, there it was happening before our show even aired. So it then made that scene, I think, even more explosive because people believed it and went, oh, wow, that's actually happening. I loved it. I mean, because Gary was so mean to Quinn for no reason except he was threatened by her. And, a lot of people are threatened by women, a lot of men in particular. And if they could just learn that if they could just partner up with women instead of trying to take them down, this world would be a much better place. And, so unfortunately Quinn was left to kind of fight fire with fire. And, I don't know, he made his bed.
He really
She was like, I'm going to let you lie in that, buddy.
But has working on a show like this, did it affect your view on the Me Too movement? Of the things you guys were able to explore, did it change the way you thought about it, or?
I think this show definitely from day one has made the awareness of women behind the scenes.
What the industry does, yeah.
What it does and what it doesn't do. And that was something I wasn't as aware of because I'm not privy to that information. So that definitely for me. And I think also the kind of the realization that reality shows are not the best to women. And the way that they make them portray themselves when that may not even really be who they are. I was not aware of that kind of stuff either. And so, yeah, I think this show is definitely, it's more importantly for me about this show too, is it has raised my awareness of how much women need women like Quinn on television. And that's a weird thing because I was so afraid of Quinn and I thought everyone was going to hate her. And here, after 3 seasons, people are just like, we need more women like this to show us that we should be able to empower each other and not take each other down. And Quinn obviously does things a little bit wrong. But
her intentions are there.
Right, right. And she's just trying to prove that a woman can do just as much as a man. We just have to try harder and prove more. And I don't know, I just hope, yes, I definitely hope with all of this that's been going on, especially the Time's Up movement, more so about giving women the same opportunity as men. Let them show you that they can do the same job.
Right.
Don't tell them they can't.
Well, this season also saw you make your episodic directorial debut.
Yes, it did.
Well, tell me, I feel like it must have been, and we've talked about this before, but like, I imagine it must have been super confusing being on that set when you're directing, because it's like a show within a show, and you're the boss on the show within the show, and now you're the boss here. Like, how was it navigating? How did everyone ease into it?
It was very weird. It was weird, and I wasn't even prepared for it because I'm the actor playing the part of the director on the show, and I didn't realize that when I was actually directing that it would be confusing, because I was like, nobody thinks I'm actually Quinn. But when I'm in the makeup and I'm in the wardrobe and I'm calling cut, and I wouldn't say action, because for me that's harder to say that. Even though I'm saying it as the character, it's fine if I'm saying it as the character within the show behind the show. But when I'm just acting in a scene, I always have somebody else say action for me, because it's very weird to be in a scene. You're like, and action, and then come back in and be an actor. And so, but I would always forget to say cut too, because I didn't remember that I was even calling the shots, even though I was playing the character that was calling shots. And sometimes I would call cut as Quinn, and people would stop acting, but the scene was still going on because we were still within the show. So I almost got to a point where I said, okay, when I'm saying cut as Constance, the director, I'm going to use a different voice. And when I'm saying cut as Quinn, as the actor, I will use like Quinn's voice.
What was the other voice?
Cut, as opposed to cut. I just became like a weirdo, like a full-on dual personality person. No, but it was also incredibly fun to play with, because I was allowed to be in scenes, acting in scenes as the director, playing the director, and it was really fun.
I just can't even wrap my head around it. How was that first experience like for you? Because I know in the episode you directed, wasn't there like 12 pages of, like, for one scene?
And like 12 actors in that scene as well. Yeah, well, yes, there was one day, I think I had 2 days where I had 12 and 11 page days, which is insane. But it's because it was, it was the challenge of the episode where they were all showing their Instagram pictures and talking about the stories on. And I thought, how am I going to do this? I have like 12 people I have to do coverage on that are sitting on a couch and looking at pictures. How am I going to keep that alive and moving? But that's the absolute wonder and joy of directing this show, is because you're a show within another show behind it, you have so many different ways of catching angles, like being able to show the camera and the lights, being within the show, being the character, being the UnReal characters, watching the filming of the show. So it allows you to really be able to play with a lot of different angles, and that was fun. But that was definitely the most challenging day, and the day I was most afraid of.
Well, and what was it like looking at yourself as an actress, but with your director's hat on, to look at your performance as a director?
Well, the good news is I'm not in any of those scenes as Quinn, so I could just be a director on that day, which was perfect. Because when I am in the scenes, it's a lot more difficult to stay on top of it. I watch playback as much as I can, but it definitely puts a little bit of it slows down the process, because you're stopping, you're looking, is everything in there? The performances I know because I'm in the scene, but it's about, did the camera get it? Did you move?
So you're not hypercritical of your performance when you're in the director mode?
I'm actually don't care. Which is probably not very good, which is probably why I'm not that great in that episode.
No, stop.
But, I feel like I have to prove more as a director than I do as an actor right now in my career. So I put the importance on that right now versus putting my importance on the acting. Obviously, I'm never going to not be good just for the sake of a great shot. But I'm actually not as critical of myself as an actor. It takes the pressure off of that, and it puts the pressure on, but does the whole scene as a whole look good? Right.
Well, and you directed again for season 4. What did you take over that you learned from the first time? And did you feel more at ease the second time?
I definitely wasn't as nervous. I knew that I could do it, except that I was given probably the hardest, most difficult episode of the season. no big deal, which about gave me a heart attack before I started. But I said, okay, I can do this. I didn't have any 12-page days, but I had so much content that I had to cover in very, very thoughtful ways because the subject matters were incredibly sensitive. So that was hard, but I know that being an actor, I gained the knowledge and the experience of being able to tell a good story, getting good performances. And that episode in season 4 is very performance heavy, that's for sure. So I knew I'd be okay with that. And I knew from doing it the season before that was the easiest part for me. It was all the technological stuff, which you have to figure out too. But I was definitely more comfortable. And there is a scene in the episode I directed where I had 11 minutes to shoot 4 pages because I was at the end of my day on the last day of my shooting. So I had 11 minutes to shoot 4 pages. Now this is where UnReal will be a show I will never get to direct in my lifetime because these circumstances would never happen again. But I was in the scene as Quinn. We were in a live filming situation on Everlasting. Everything was happening in the moment, live. So everything was chaotic. Cameras were all over trying to get footage of this one incident that was happening in the moment right then. So Graham he had his speech written down on a card because it was all happening. So I'm in the scene directing them all live because we just kept filming. We just kept shooting because I was like, I have 11 minutes to do 4 pages. So I would just stay in the scene and I had my monitor in the scene as if Quinn was watching what's happening because it's live. It was happening live on the show. So then what would happen is I'd be watching the cameras and what they were getting. And then the second I would see myself on camera, I'd be like, oh, I'm blocked by the monitor. I need to move over. So then I would just move myself over and I would position myself like as if, oh, what's happening out there? Okay. And then I was able, so it was like meta with a little more meta on top. The crazy. Actors, God bless them, were losing their minds. They were like, I don't know when you're Quinn and you're Constance. And I'm like, I'm Quinn the whole time. Just don't ever break character. Don't ever break character. Whenever I come over to you, I'm going to speak in a tone that is going to be like Quinn, but I'm going to be talking to you as Constance. And we're just going to do this together. And we did it. And and you can feel that in the scene. And oh my God.
I can't wait to see that.
It was crazy.
Well, talk about the sort of impetus for you really wanting to direct. I mean, one, female representation behind the scenes is so bad. And I think a colleague wrote a story featuring Angela Lansbury where she had never been directed by a woman until this most recent project that she had, which is like astounding to me. But
also it's because the opportunities for women as directors weren't there. This is all new and recent, and you can see there are certain female directors that have been doing it all by themselves. Now you can't find a female director to direct television because they're all booked. And so that's super exciting. And I think for me is I directed a bunch of plays and I always wanted to be a director, but I never thought it was possible, or I thought this is going to be way too hard. I'm never going to be able to break in. So getting the opportunity on UnReal, I of course wanted to take it hands down. I just didn't know how much I was going to love it.
Right.
I loved it so much because I weirdly like being in control of everything. I'll just be honest. That's really what it is. I like being able to say, like, move this plant a quarter of an inch over here because it looks better on camera, which, by the way, I might have messed that up for you. Sorry. But I really like that. I have a little bit of, OCD in me. And so as an actor, I already do that. Everybody makes jokes that I'm such a freak about my props and where's my pad of paper and where's my pen and where's my coffee cup and what am I eating and what am I doing, but it's just how my brain works.
Interesting. Well, let's take some fan questions. I don't want to hog all the time. Airly on Twitter asks, who is your dream guest star for the show?
Oh, like who
would you
be?
want?
Who would I want on our show? Ooh, that's a good question. Who would I want as a guest star on our show? Oh, because it could be anything, right? It could be a... You know what? I mean, I wish that we could have a Sutras suitor that was a queen. I would love to have, you know, I mean, we can't have RuPaul, but I'd love to have like Peppermint or Alaska. I don't know if you follow Drag Race.
Yeah, I know you do.
Right,
yes.
I do. I'm obsessed. But I would love that. I think that would be amazing because then she could play both sides.
Mm-hmm. A fan on Twitter asked, you've worked with Kevin Spacey and Jeremy Piven, two men who have been caught up in the Me2 movement. What are your thoughts on how Hollywood is responding and where do we go from here?
Well, that is deep and I appreciate it and I wish I had all the answers, but all I can say to that is I feel that what we do from here is we change it. Mm-hmm. We fix it. We don't let people in power be able to dominate people who are not in power. And I think the awareness of it, the talking about it, being communicative in any environment is important. Nobody knows that there's problems if you don't talk about it. So I hope from here on out, these won't happen anymore. And people will be aware that nothing is kind of, what's the word, held secret, or nobody is untouchable. That's really what it is.
Well, when we last spoke, you were in the midst of coming back to House of Cards. And now that some shooting has actually happened, what was it like being back on set and seeing Robin sort of take the lead in the absence of Kevin?
It's been amazing. It was fantastic. The crew and the cast and the writers and the showrunners everybody was just so excited to be back and to continue telling that story and it being stronger than ever. Honestly, I'm so glad that they didn't stop the show because that wouldn't have been fair. And Robin's amazing. Robin's been amazing since day one.
Beginning, yeah.
Right.
What can we expect for Quinn in season 4?
Oof. Oy, oy, oy. It's like gives me a headache thinking about it. It's rough. I'm not going to lie. Season 4 there is some stuff that I had to tackle that I didn't ever really want to have to tackle on television, but we did, and I think I think people are not going to expect it, and then not going to even grasp how it ends. It's a pretty big deal. It's a pretty big deal. I mean, there's a lot. There's so much going on in season 4. It's insane. That's why I'm kind of excited that, you know.
If it were to be the last season, it'll be good.
It'll be great.
Okay, we have our lightning round set of questions.
Oh, damn it.
Last show you binge watched?
Till the End of the Effing World.
Oh, nice. If you could go back and be on any TV show ever, what would it be?
Mork and Mindy.
Ooh, nice. Oh, we got a clap back there.
I know, I got a clap. Nice.
A lot of people watch TV to unwind. What do you do to unwind?
Drink a cocktail and eat a bag of potato chips.
That is so real and so identifiable. What do you know now that you wish you knew on your first acting job?
What do I know now that I didn't know on my first? That you're there for a reason. You got the job because you were good enough, not to doubt yourself so much.
I like that. That's very good. We're ending on an uplifting note, guys.
Oh, thank God. I hate it when I end on bad notes.
Well, it was a pleasure having you back. Thanks so much for joining us.
I so appreciate it.
And you have us so ready for season 4.
Good.
So ready.
Good.
And thank you all for tuning in. If you want to check more of our Emmy chats, head over to latimes.com.
latimes.com.